Setting up. Okay, so I think we are live. So let me just share the link. So I'll drop the link on this chat. So someone should just help me. Sorry, Paul, if you are there, just help me drop the link on the WhatsApp group chat so that we can get started. Thank you. All right, so let me share my video, share my screen. Okay. Just share my screen in a bit. So if you can see my screen, please let me know. Okay. All right. So I think we'll just get started right now. Okay, so thank you everyone, and welcome to class 1 of the WTech Hub Web Development Internship. I really want to apologize for starting a little bit beyond schedule, right? So just to confirm, and I also welcome everyone once again. I really appreciate your presence here. Just to confirm, have we set up our development environment before we get started? Maybe you can just signify or drop in the chat. If you're using a laptop, you should have downloaded Visual Studio Code. If you're using a phone, then you should have set it up on or created an account on replate.com. So can I just confirm from those here that you've set up that development environment? Oh, okay. So I think what I would do here, okay, if you're joining from mobile, can you just confirm that you've set up your replate.com and you're ready? Okay, Emeka, you've set up yours. Thank you. Satish, yeah. Who else? I just need to confirm if you're using a laptop or, laptop, yeah. So let me just know if you have set up Visual Studio Code so that when we get started, we know that everyone is actually following up. Okay, Joshua, thank you. You've set up Visual Studio Code. Great. Okay. Esumi, Oga, yeah. Set up on my Visual Studio Code, yeah. Lawrence, set up on laptop. Great. Okay, so Buluwatife, I've set up Visual Studio Code. All right. So is there anyone that hasn't set up? Because we just want to go straight. Okay, so okay, I've set up VS Code. Miriam, yeah, thanks. Okay, let me equally start recording. Just give me a moment also. So let's record on this computer. Okay. All right, so we'll just get started, right? As more people join, we hope that they've already set up their VS Code for those that are using their laptops, and for those that are using their phones, that they've already set up their replate.com. Okay, so first let's open our VS Code. All right, so VS Code. Okay. All right, so I've opened mine and just give you few seconds to equally open yours. And just to mention, what we'll be doing is we just give a 15 minutes. So I'm going to be teaching at every 15-minute interval, would give the floor for maybe someone who has questions to ask, or maybe you got stuck somewhere and you were not able to um, unblock yourself, right? So that we'll be able to, so that the class can flow and we'll not be having interruptions intermittently. So that's exactly the rule we are going to follow, so that we'll be able to have a fruitful and productive session today. So my Visual Studio Code is open. So let me just show you a little bit around Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, in order to get started, of course, you need to always create a folder, right? You need to create a folder. So you can come here. At the top here, you have file, you have edit, selection, view, go, run, terminal, window, help, right? I'm still going to go through each of these. Okay, so from file here, you can create a new text file, new window. You can actually open a folder, right? You can open a workspace, right? So workspace is just more like an umbrella space, kind of, that allows you to work with different folders at the same time. But if you do not open a workspace, maybe you open a folder, it means that one VS Code instance will run a single folder, right? But if you open a workspace, so workspace, okay, so let me actually open workspace just to show you. I'm just demonstrating what workspace is. So just watch what I'm doing. So let's say on my desktop, I have, so let's say I have this folder. Okay, so let's call it, create a new folder and call it new workspace. Workspace 1. I just say workspace 1. Then I should be able to open that folder. Okay, so just hold on. Let me bring in a new folder first. Let me open a folder first. Okay, so we had that. Okay, so let's open this. Okay, sorry, don't worry about the code. Would start a new one, a fresh one. Okay, so let's say here. So I want to add. Okay, so just hold on. Okay, open workspace from file. So new workspace 1. Okay. All right, so I'll still talk about the workspace. Let me just go to the folder, right? So let's close this and get started again. Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let's just talk about the folder, right? So you always need to open a folder in order to get started with your application. So let's say this is a fresh folder that I created under desktop. So let's just say web development. Okay, so use small letter, web dev class 1. So we create that and we open. Okay. So yeah, so you can create a folder. Like I said, you always need to open with a folder, and you create a folder, give it a name. From there, you can now create files inside it, right? So VS Code is actually a code editor that supports a lot of programming languages. Of course, you can write your HTML on it, CSS, it supports JavaScript, Python, C++, C Sharp, and a whole lot, right? That's what VS Code does. And just walking you through VS Code. So this is file. So from file, you can open a new window, workspace, add a folder, save workspace as, and also one of the things I will need you to do is to have your autosave on, right? So from file, just go to autosave, make sure it is checked. If it is not checked, please put it on because when you start coding, you don't want every little time you would be going to manually save, because if you do not save, of course, you will lose your work, right? And if you do manual saving, then it means that at every point in time, you always need to do Control S. So, but you just put it on autosave, right? From file, right? You go down, you see autosave. Make sure it is checked. So that's going to help you so that everything you type would just be automatically saved, right? And there's also, let me see, view. We have appearance, right? So you can customize your VS Code, from here, zoom in, zoom out. Okay, let's say I want to zoom in. I could equally use Command plus. So if you are using, I'm actually using a Mac, but if you're using a Windows, it's actually Control plus, right? I'm just doing that to zoom so that it can be bolder for you to see and follow, right? So selection, we are still going to go into that, go run. You can start debugging your code and enable breakpoint and the rest. We'll go into that in more details. Terminal. You can actually open a new terminal, right? So when you click on it, this is what actually shows up, terminal. So you have problems. If there are problems in your code, it's going to show here output. This is the debug console. That's if you're debugging your code. This is the terminal, right? And the terminal, each time you open your terminal, it opens at your current folder. So you can see here, right? I have web dev class 1. So immediately you open your terminal, it opens at your current folder. Okay. So you have ports, SQL console. I don't know if you may have SQL console. It's actually because of some additional extensions I have installed on my VS Code. But of course, everyone will have terminal, debug console, outputs. Then you have a place for problems if you have issues with your code, right? Then to the left here, you have File Explorer, right? This is the activity panel. This is the activity panel here to your left. I'm just walking you through VS Code so you can look at it and follow through. So this is your Explorer, right? Where you get to see your folders and your files. And this is a search icon, right? Where you would be able to search for anything in your project that you're working on. And from there, you can replace, right? Or you can look for it and actually exactly go to where that search term is actually found, right? So we will still do some demonstration when we start coding because at the moment our folder is empty, so there is nothing to search. Right. So we have source control. This for Git and GitHub. We have run and debug. That's a debug activity panel tool here. We also have extensions. So extensions are just and there's actually the extension marketplace where you have different extensions that will aid your coding, right? It just helps to make life easy coding on VS Code, right? We have Remote Explorer here. Okay, so let's first thing to get started, let's just download some extensions. Since you are already at extensions. Just to check up that we are still following, right? Okay. So I just need to be sure we are still following. Sorry, can anyone just confirm you are still following? Am I too fast? Am I too slow? Or can I just get some feedback before I continue? Maybe you can drop on the chat. Oh, okay. Some people are lost. Okay, Miriam is lost, Joshua is lost, Chizzy is lost. Okay, Samvik codes, you are following. Okay, so some people are following, some people are lost. So what I would do, okay, let me see. Does it apply to the repli.com? Okay, so for the repli.com, already you've already created a replit, like a replit template with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So this intro will not apply, right? The intro will not apply for replit.com. That's for those that are using phone, because already replit will just give you a sample code. You would see in your index.html, you will see doc type HTML and the rest. So if you're using a phone and you're using replit.com, you can just patiently listen while I go through this the VS Code. This is more like an intro into VS Code. That's for those that are using laptops, right? So, but if you're using a phone and you're on replit.com, so you can just patiently watch what we are doing. Then when we actually start the main coding, you can follow up from there. Okay, Boluwatife says he's following. Folder aspect isn't clear. Okay. Joshua says he's lost. Okay, so let's recap. Let's just have a recap. Right. Some people are lost, some people are following, but let's have a recap, because this beginning point is actually very important. If you miss it here, you might be struggling to follow all through. Right. So just for the benefit of those that are lost, so you would permit me, I would close this. I'll close my VS Code once again. So just follow me, right? First thing, you launch your VS Code. So this is how I launch my own VS Code. Okay. So this is my VS Code, right? By default, this is what it shows. And I was trying to walk you through VS Code, what it is, what you can do with it, and equally the shortcuts. So to the left here, you have your activity panel, right? Just starting again. You have your activity panel. Left, the first one is File Explorer. So I don't have any folder open yet. So that's why it is empty. So you can see here, you have not yet opened a folder. So when I open a folder, you're going to see it show up. But first, let me just go through to explain. Then the next one is a search icon that helps you to search for anything that you wish in your project or in your code, right? It helps you to search, and from there you can do a search. So it will search every file on your project, and from there you want to replace. If you want to replace it, you can actually replace it. If not, when you click on search here, it will just show up the item that you've decided to search for, right? When we start coding, I will still come here to demonstrate, but just to walk you around to show you, oh, this is what this is and this is how it works, right? So this is the search, like I said. So the next one is for source control. That's for Git and GitHub. So at the end of the day, Git is just for version control. You are going to, it's more like storing your code in the cloud, because anything could happen to your system, for example. So when you enable Git and GitHub, you're able to push your code to the cloud and it is stored there. That's one. It's a repository for your code. Then number two, it also helps you to monitor version control. Version control is the previous version of your code. Maybe you were coding yesterday and you stopped somewhere. And at that point where you stopped, you pushed your code to GitHub. right? So today, as you want to start, GitHub is going to begin to track the new changes that you have made from that yesterday. Then when you are done with today's code, you push it up to GitHub again. So when you go to GitHub, you can see a history, right, of your coding to show you that, oh, okay, let's say you started a project maybe like 3 days ago. On day one, you can see what you coded or what you wrote on your Visual Studio Code, and you have pushed to GitHub, right? Provided you've pushed to GitHub, you can provided you've pushed to GitHub, then you would see that progress, that it will be tracked. So day two, you coded again. Say you wanted to go on time off or you wanted to go on a break or something, you pushed it to GitHub again. You will equally see that history. So it just helps you to track, okay, this is what I did day before yesterday, this is what I did yesterday, this is what I did today, and this is what, as you keep moving, depending on how long the project you've started, like you started working on the project. So it just gives you a history and also serves as a repository for you to store your codes. So with that, if something happens to your laptop, for example, you could equally go to GitHub on a new laptop, even on your phone, right? And you just be able to pull your code into your new laptop, right? So that really helps, Git and GitHub. So that's this for source control. We have this, run and debug. Then we have extensions. So extensions, like I said, it just helps. It provides a lot of support to your coding experience, right? Depending on the language you are using, there are a lot of extensions for indentation, extensions for colors. You want to change the color of your, the text, your code that you are writing, right? So you can actually do a lot of things there, colors changing. You can bring in bootstrap supports. You can bring in fonts, change, and a whole lot, really. There's a whole lot in extensions, right? We'll still go through it. Yeah. So extensions is just a marketplace where you go, you search for different extensions that will support your coding experience. Then we have, let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. So I actually have all these ones. I know you wouldn't have this. You won't see this on your VS Code Docker. You will not see it. It's an extension that I've installed, but Docker will not be applicable for what we are doing here. So you can ignore that. Project Manager, Git Lens, SQL tools. So this is me working with SQL, and this is MongoDB for my database. So, but we wouldn't go into all of that for the sake of this internship. Right. So, but I've shown you the basic ones, which you would see on your VS Code. You will see Explorer, you will see Search, you will see Git, GitHub, you will see Run and Debug, you will see extensions. Those are the basic ones that you're going to see. Okay. So let me zoom in and make it a little bit bolder. All right. So here, up here on this panel, you're going to see, I'm actually using a Mac, so my interface might just be slightly different from what you can see, but everything is going to be the same, right? So of course you will see file here. From file, you're able to open a new file, new window, folder, workspace, and autosave. So I made mention of this autosave from this file tab, right? Make sure that you have this autosave checked, right? So that when you start coding, it's just going to be, as you code, it just becomes automatically saved, right? Because you actually have to save your work as you keep coding. If not, you are going to lose your work, right? So this autosave, make sure it is on. Then you have edit, you can undo, you can redo, you can copy, paste, and all of that. They're equally shortcuts. And one beautiful thing about VS Code, already for everything in VS Code, you are going to see a shortcut. So you can actually learn those shortcuts and, begin to use them, right? You can learn those shortcuts and you use them. So this one is, since I'm using a Mac, you can see here is Command Z. If you want to undo, redo is Shift and Shift Command Z. But for those that are using Windows, you're going to see Shift Control right? You're going to see Shift Control Z. So you equally see everything here actually has its corresponding shortcuts. So you can actually learn those shortcuts so that you will not have to be using your mouse every time to come here, like select all is actually Command A. If you're using Windows, it's Control A, right? You can add cursor above, add cursor below. I'm still going to demonstrate this when we start coding. But I'm just showing you around. View, you have command palette. So I've clicked on the command palette, right? And this is what shows up. So from this command palette, you can do a lot of things, right? You can change your theme. You can change your preferences. You can, open keyboard shortcuts. You can see all the shortcuts that are available for you on VS Code, right? So how did I get here? I clicked on command palette, right? So where did I get command palette from? From view. Don't forget, from view. So let's say I want to see all the shortcuts. So I can just say shortcuts. I want to see all the shortcuts on VS Code. So I have this. So I'll just click on open keyboard shortcuts, right? So here it is. So you can see these are all the shortcuts on VS Code. We have these accept inline edits and all of that. Add cursor above, add cursor below. Insert into terminal. A whole lot. Comments. You want to add comment. You want to copy Command C or Control C. So this is really what's. You don't need to cram everything, or just as you keep coding, you will get to learn gradually what each of these shortcuts can do. And also, as you can see this pen icon, you can actually change a shortcut, right? So from this pen, you can change. I don't want to change, but just to show you that if you click here, maybe this is Shift, Command, and G, and you want to change the G, you can just click on, okay? So you can click here, right? Where you have the pen, and you just put your desired combination. But I don't want to make that change. So a whole lot is here, right? So you can actually learn this at your spare time, go through all these shortcuts and, know the ones that are relevant to what you are doing on a day-to-day on VS Code. Just to show you, right? So how did I get there? I first clicked on view. Once again, I got to command palette. So even from the command palette, you can see here that there's a shortcut for it. So you can do Shift Command P, but for Windows, that will be Shift Control P. So that would open your command palette for you, right? So you can just do a whole lot here. Terminal, right? So you can open a terminal. Terminal is just, I did open terminal before, but let me just show you. Let me click on new terminal again so you get to see. So do you see, clicking on new terminal brings me here. It opens up this. I hope we can see, this is what new terminal does. It brings us here. From here, you can see your debug console. You can see problems. If there are problems in your code, you can still switch back to terminal. So I'm just showing us around. And this terminal, if you want to close it, of course, there is an X here. So you can click on this X. It will hide panel. Right. So it closes. Okay. Terminal, window, help, and all of that. So you can also access your settings, right? So let's do that. How do you access your settings? Maybe you want to just change some stuffs. It's still true. You still go through view and you open command palette, right? So if you open command palette and you say settings, so you would see something like open user settings, right? So you just click on open user settings. So with these settings, you can do a lot of stuffs here. So you can see autosave autosave is an option here. So you can put it off if you want, after delay. Of course, you're going to set the delay. So after delay is like you'll be given a time frame to say, okay, how many seconds do you want it to save? Like after like 1,000 seconds or after delay. I know you see this option. Just click on after delay. Font size, you can actually change your font size, right? So you can you can work on it, make it 14, make it 16, whatever you want. It just depends on you. But I'm just showing you that this is where you have your settings, and you can do a lot of things here. We won't go so deep, right? But you can do a lot in your settings here. But this is just majorly the VS Code settings, right? So, yeah, just showing you where you can find things on VS Code, okay? So that we can just get started. All right, so I hope that is taken. And next, we want to open folder. So like I said, for every stuff you want to do on VS Code, you need to start with the folder. Remember, I said folder. So there are different ways. If you want to go to your desktop and create a new folder, you can create a new folder from your desktop, then now come to VS Code here under this open, right? You can click open, then it will now take you to, or from there you can be able to check up where you created the folder and you can open, right? So this is an option. Another option is that even though you don't create a folder at all, you can just still come here and click open. It will still take you to your folder structure. Then just choose somewhere, let's say maybe on my desktop. You can you can create a new folder here, right? I hope you also have that on your Windows. So you can click on new folder here and just give it a name, maybe class 1 or something. Then you click create, right? So it's already on that class 1. Then you just click open. So you just wait for it to open up. So this is what I actually have. My class 1 is already open. So it's still showing this welcome screen because I've not created a file, right? I've not created a file. So next thing we want to do is to create a file on that class 1. So this first one is new file. This second one is new folder. So if you want to create a new folder under class 1, this is where you create it. You want to refresh and collapse folders. So, but what we want to do at the moment is to create a file, right? Create a file. So click on that and you type index.html. And just to mention, then you click enter. So this is what I have. And just to mention, right, every HTML file starts or has the file suffix. You can call it file suffix or file extension .html. So anywhere you see .html at the end of a file name, that's actually a HTML file. Or say you want to create one. Whatever name you give to it, you must have .html. So that's how to create a HTML file. But for those that are using phone, of course, you already have this created for you on replate.com by default. But for those that are using system or laptop, this is actually how you create a HTML file, right? So to this extent, just to gauge the class, just to be sure that those that were lost are following up. Okay. So can I just get some responses if you have followed up to this point? Okay, Joshua is now good to go. Emeka, following. Okay. So if you're using a laptop, you could actually, minimize, bring the two together. You can put your VS Code by the right-hand side, and you bring this Zoom call to your left so that you can watch and, be typing at the same time so that you don't have to be switching between screens. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Glad people are following. All right. So this is HTML, right? So how do you get started? So on VS Code actually has what we call emmet abbreviation. You don't need to cram this one, emmet abbreviation. You will see it work as you type, right? So there are actually shortcuts to spin out an index.html file, or more like say a HTML document structure. So every HTML file that you see anywhere in the world actually has this basic structure. So what's the basic structure? So you can do something like this on VS Code. You press your Shift and 1. So it comes up with this exclamation mark, right? Shift and 1 gives you this exclamation mark. So with that, you can just click on the first one, right? Click on it, bam, and it gives you this. I hope you are good. So let me go back. Let me just do it again. So first is your Shift and 1. You see this exclamation mark show up. You just click on it. Then you are here. Okay, so if you're using phone, I said replete.com, just go to that website, or you just go to Google Store and you look for Replete mobile application. You would see it there. So I just hope we are following here. So for every HTML file, this is the basic structure, very basic structure. So it actually starts with a doc type HTML. So what this doc type HTML does is it just tells the browser that, oh, this is a HTML document. So it's actually called document. You can call it HTML file, HTML document, or whatever you want to call it. So you can call it HTML document. So it says doc type HTML, right? So it equally has this HTML, which is the next one. So this is the root. This is the root. Okay, so let me just do some write-up here. So you can say this is the HTML roots, right? Just making some comments. And this is the head tag, but I know we can already see it. So this is the head tag. I'm just making comments. I'm not really coding, so don't let that distract you. This is the HTML roots. This is the head tag, and so if you look at your VS Code, you see some stuffs like this. After the number, right, you're going to see an arrow pointing down before the left angle bracket. So for this arrow, you can click on it. When you click on it, it will collapse the head. So let's watch it. So can you see it has collapsed everything within the head? So you can see head opening and head closing, right? So so you can actually collapse that head, and this is the body. So let me just collapse. So as you can see here, you have doc type HTML. It informs the browser that, oh, this is a HTML file about to be opened. So we also have the second one, which is HTML lang equals to end. This lang is just for language, right? It tells it that it's English. So that's the HTML roots. So this is head. So it's actually the head tag, and this is body. Let me just type it here. So this is body. because every HTML document that you see actually has doc type. It has the root, which is HTML with the language. Then it has the head. Then it has the body. So this is the body tag. This is the body tag, right? So you can collapse it. So this is the basic structure. Okay. All right. So next we have meta chasets. So this meta chasset is just it's called metadata. Anything within the head tag or the content of the head tag are called or is called metadata. Everything inside here, meta, you have meta chasset. You don't need to bug yourself with this, but this is just me explaining because you can see it anywhere or you equally are typing it. So more like you need to even understand what are you doing, what is it that you are writing, right? But you really don't need to bother yourself about this, because every HTML document, like I said, will always have this. So this is more like a standard structure, and this standard structure you can get it by like I said, you can just, if you do Shift and 1, it just brings out on VS Code, it brings out that exclamation mark. Immediately you click enter, it brings this out. So, but I'm just going through every single line to explain what it is. So this is just metadata, right? Metadata. Everything here is within the head tag. This head from beginning here to the end here are just metadata. Yeah, so this character set, it just informs the browser, because at the end of the day, it's the browser that is going to display this code, right? So this just tells the browser that the character set for encoding should be UTF-8. The other types of character encoding, but you don't need to bug yourself about this, right? There's UTF-16 and the rest. Okay, just know it, but you don't need to bug yourself about how many character sets we have. So we also have meta. There's also another metadata here. Name equals to viewports. Content is width equals to device width. So what this helps to do is it actually helps in your SEO. SEO has to do with search engine optimization, right? So this particular one, meta name equals to viewport, it just tells it tells your browser to take the viewports. Okay, it tells your browser to take the viewports, tells your browser to take the viewports as the default display, right? So what that actually means is that as your website is showing up on your browser, right? So initial scale is 1. So it should just take up your full browser. So if you change this initial scale to maybe like 2 or 3 or so it will more like just enlarge it or zoom. So just see it as like zoom in or zoom out or something. But you are not actually supposed to trouble yourself with this. This comes by default. So you are not changing anything. So meta name equals to viewport. Viewport is just the visible part of your browser. That's viewport. So let me show you. Let me see. Let me see my Chrome. Okay. So as you can see on my screen here, so everything you can see here is your viewport, right? Everything here is actually your viewport. This is the default. The default full screen of your browser is actually your viewport. So here, what it's saying is that your browser should be able to interpret this code using its default, window, default browser window, right? Viewport. Okay. So title is actually from title, you're able to just give the title of your project. So it depends on what you are doing. Let's say by default, it says document, but you can change it to anything. Maybe you can say, for example, maybe web dev class 1, for example. You can change it. And I'm going to actually show you where this title will show up, right? Web Dev Class 1. So by default, it's documents, but you can change it to anything you want, depending on the project you are working on, right? Web Dev Class 1. Okay. So I'm just showing you around. This other head tag is closing. So let's just say this is opening, opening head tag. So this second one is like a pair, right? This second one is now where you have closing. This closing head tag. We'll still dive deep into what tags are, but I'm just trying to explain the basic document structure for HTML. So after head, you have body, right? So like I said, this is the body tag. So you have, let's say this is the opening body tag. And here on line 10 is closing. So you have closing. So you have closing body tag. Okay, so on line 11 here, what do you have? You have, so on line 11 here, you have closing HTML tag. All right, so this is just me explaining what the basic HTML structure means, each of them, right? So this first one just tells the browser, okay? So this first one tells the browser that it is a HTML document about to be open, or HTML document to pass. You can say to open or to pass, anyone. Okay, so yeah, so having made this explanation, right, let's go next to extensions marketplace. Remember, on this activity panel, we actually have these extensions. So you click on it, extensions to your left, don't forget. Yeah, so we actually want to install an extension that will help us to be able to preview our HTML code. So just type live server. That should be the very first one that comes up. Live server. You see 53.5 million downloads by rate weekday. So you click on it. So for those that are using phone, at the moment you don't, of course, you don't need to install this. Just hold on, watch what we are doing. When we actually get started with the coding, you would proceed with us. Okay. Okay, someone is asking difference between new file and new folder. Okay, so I will get to that. So, but this live server, this live server. So mine is already installed. So it's telling me disable. But I don't want to disable it because I have it installed. So, but yours, if you don't have it installed, then you click on. Okay, so let me uninstall so that we'll be on the same page. I think this is what you see. I've uninstalled mine. So I hope this is what you would see. So just click on install, right? So it's installed and it is enabled. Okay. So install live server. Another one you would install is, let me just show you the second one. Live preview. Live preview by Microsoft. So you would see it, live preview by Microsoft. So you click on it. I already have mine installed. So you can just go through the same process. Just click on install. Okay, let me uninstall mine. Okay, yeah. So this is what you are going to see, live preview. So you install, just click on install. All right. So mine is installed. So at this point, let me just take a break and let me be sure that we've been able to install these extensions. Okay, so Mariam asked the difference between new file and new folder. So a folder is more like a bucket, right? Where you have different files contained inside. While a file is just a single part of a folder where you can write your code, right? So one is a bigger box. So look at a folder like a box and look at a file like something inside the box, right? So that's really what it is. But like I said, immediately you want to start your HTML project, you start with a folder. Don't forget, start with a folder, create a folder, get it up to VS Code here, and now create a file inside it. So I don't know if I've been able to answer that. Isaac asked how you created the folder. Okay, so there is a file, there's a file on this top panel here, there is file, right? So from file, you can come to open folder and click on it. So when you click on it, I've done that before, it actually takes you to where you can, choose the folder you want and you open it up. So I think I'll just stop there. So let me be sure if you have, if you're following, you've been able to install the live server or the live preview or both, or is there anyone stuck so we can proceed? Okay, so Buluwatife installed. So I think if we have just maybe 2 more persons, we just go ahead. I just want to be sure we are following so that um, it can just be very interesting. Okay, Esumi, yeah, you've installed, yeah. Um, okay, so Bemi Sire, sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name well. Zé, can you mention the app for phone users again? Replit. Let me type it. Replit. Okay. All right. So we'll just go ahead from there. So you can close this, the extension live preview. You can actually close it with this X. Right. When you close it, it goes back to the index.html. All right. So let's preview. So there are 2 ways to preview. Now that we have installed the live preview and we have also installed the live server. So let me show you the 2 ways to preview. So you come to your index.html, right click. So when you right click, you will see open with live server. You can open with live server. I'm still going to show you how to open with live server, but first, let me show you with this show preview. So click on show preview. So it's actually going to open the preview next to just within your VS Code, right? So this place seems to be tight. So what you can do, you can click on this Explorer. So it will collapse the Explorer and give you a little bit more space, right? Okay, so I have some charts here. Okay. So, okay, so Isaac is asking how I created a file in my folder. Okay, so let me just respond to him quickly. before we proceed. So Isaac, here it is. This is our folder. Our folder is class 1 here. And this is, if we check close to class 1, there is an option here. The very first one is new file, as you can see. Second one is new folder. But what you want to do is to create a new file, not folder. Since you already have a folder, you want to create a file inside a folder. So you just click on this new file. Then you type the name, whatever name, maybe name dot, but mine is index.html. I don't wish to delete it, but I'm just showing you maybe name.html. So, but in your case, it's going to be index.html. Then after that, you click enter, right? So, but let me delete it because I don't need it. I just needed to demonstrate. Okay, so I'm moving this to trash. All right, so let's go ahead. So we have, these are web preview, but we are not seeing anything. So why we are not seeing anything is because in our body tag, we don't have anything. So you can, under your body tag here, you can say hello world. Hello world. Right? And you see its display just here. For those that are using the mobile application, I think Replit already comes with Hello World. So by default, you are just going to see Hello World there. So, but you can add something to it if you're a phone user. Hello World, you can say, this is my first code, right? So you see that live preview. So this is what the live preview actually helps you to do. As you are typing, you'll be seeing the output live. All right. So let me close this. So why for me, why I don't really like this preview is that it doesn't give you what your code looks like on laptop. You know, from here, it's difficult to be able to check your laptop view to say, okay, this is how my code will show up on a desktop. This is how my code will show up on a tablet. This is how my code will show up on a mobile. So that's why, personally, I don't really prefer this, but just to let you know that there is something like this, and if you want to use this, you can actually use. But let me close it and show you live server. So let me close it here, right? Close. All right. So if you want to open with live server, which is what we are going to be using for this class, so you can, in the body of your code, you can right click, right? In the body of your code, just right click, or you come to where you have index.html here, and you, okay, so let me bring it out well. Or you come to where you have index.html here, and you right click. So any of them. But you see an option saying open with live server. That's the main thing. I need you to get to that option. Then you can now click on open with live server. So just click on it. So automatically it opens up your browser and you can see a URL there, 127.0.0.1. Then there is a port 5500/index.html. So this is what live server does. So live server is going to bring you to the browser. So from here, you can see exactly how your code is going to show on every browser, which is very important, right? The other one is inside your VS Code, and it's just very little, maybe at the corner, and that's not what you really want. What you want is, you want to see how your code is going to look like on the browser from the very beginning. So that's going to help you. So I hope we've been able to open ours with live server so that we could continue. Okay, so I will just go ahead. Yeah. So you would see something like server is started at ports, mine is port 5500. So for yours, it might be the same port if that port is not busy. it might be the same port. So let me close that. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay. So what's the first thing we will look at? We want to look at tags. What are tags in HTML? So we have types of tags, two types of tags. So I'm going to write my code inside the body. Everything I'm going to explain, I will write it inside the body tag. So the body tag it has an opening. That's actually what I'm heading to now. It has an opening tag and a closing tag, right? Body is where you write all your code. That's everything you want to be displayed on your browser is actually written within the body tag. Don't forget, everything you want to be displayed on your browser is written within the body tag. And the body tag has an opening on line 8 here, then it has a closing on line 10. All right. So let's enter. So let's enter into the body tag. This is where we are. So we are talking about tags. Tags. So I'm just making some comments so that it will be easy to, I'm going to still share this code at the end of the day. So when anybody looks at it, at least you'll be able to see the explanation to understand. So tags, right? Tags. So we actually have self-closing tags, self-closing tags, self-closing tags. Self-closing tags and you can call them non-self-closing tags. So those ones actually have a pair. Sorry, this code snippet is just, okay. Non-self-closing tags. Okay. So someone is asking question. So the live server, Isaac, you just get to your extensions marketplace to the left here on the activity panel, right? Just get here to the left and you type live server. So that's how you actually get to download the live server extension. So we have tags in HTML. We have self-closing tags and we have non-self-closing tags, right? So let's talk about the non-self-closing tags first. So for example, you have body, right? Any tag that has a pair is actually non-self-closing. So what do I mean? For example, P is non-self-closing. P. So P actually stands for paragraph. Is non-self-closing. Why? Why is it non-self-closing? Because look at it. It has an opening tag. This is opening. Okay, so let me put them on separate lines and say this is an opening tag. So this is opening tag, and this is closing. This closing. This closing tag. Okay. So what makes it opening? Just to explain, every opening tag will have this is called an angle bracket. So this is left angle brackets, the name of the tag, right angle brackets. Please take notes. Every opening tag has left angle brackets, which is this. It has the name of the tag, which is P. Then it has a closing, right, which is the right angle bracket. So its corresponding closing tag, since this is non-self-closing, it means that it has a pair, right? So if you have an opening, you equally have a closing. So the closing tag, this is the syntax. So it's going to start with a left angle bracket, a forward slash. Don't forget a forward slash. That's actually what makes it close, non-self-closing. Forward slash, then the name of the tag, then right angle bracket. So every non-self-closing tag is going to have this as the opening, left angle bracket, name of tag, right angle bracket, and it's going to have closing, and the closing would be left angle bracket, forward slash, name of tag, and right angle brackets. So don't always forget. Another thing that VS Code helps you to do, for VS Code, immediately you type the name of the tag, it will just, if it is self-closing, it will just bring it out to you by default. If it is none, it will equally help you. So what do I mean? When I remember when I did this left angle bracket, I did P, then I closed it with a right angle bracket. You see, automatically, it brought out the second pair of it for me. So you may not even need to cram this. If you're using VS Code, it automatically does. So yeah, so just to explain what opening tag and closing tags are, that's for non-self-closing. So there are a lot of non-self-closing tags. So you have H1 for heading. I will still demonstrate what each of these means, but I'm just explaining what tags are at the moment. H1 for heading. So you have what else? You have title. Title. So you can see title has its pair, right? I'm just showing you so you can see what else. Section. Section is also a tag that is non-self-closing. It has its own pair. What else do we have? So we have H2. H2 is still a type of heading, but I will show you, I will demonstrate how it looks like. What else do we have? Let's say we have aside. Aside is still a type of tag. You see, there are non-self-closing. Why? Because they have their opening and they have closing, right? So, but for self-closing tags are able to close themselves within a single tag. Self-closing tags are closed within, self-closing tags are closed within a single tag, as the name implies. So for example, you have, let's say input, right? Input is self-closing. So just watch. If I say enter, okay, that didn't work. So this is input. So observe how input is self-closing. It starts with left angle bracket, the name of the tag, forward slash, and right angle bracket. It stops there. It's self-closing, so it stops there, right? Another one, we have image. So we have image. This is what we use to show images. Okay. So image, okay, forward slash, then right angle bracket. Image is equally self-closing. So we have another one. There are a lot actually, but I'm just giving you examples. We are going to use some of them in the course of our class. So this is break. This is for line break. You equally see how it works. BR. So I'm just giving you examples. After BR, we have HR. HR is for horizontal line. Okay. And we have a lot more. But just to show you so that you can differentiate, even link. Link is actually used for external to link your HTML document with an external file or style sheets, right? So we'll still go into that. So, but just showing you examples, right? Link, even meta tag that we saw initially, meta is equally self-closing. So just to let you know, so for you to understand, this is the syntax. For every self-closing tag, there's going to be a left angle bracket, the name of the tag, there would be a /, and there will be a right angle bracket. So you can see that that's what characterizes all of this from lines 14 to 19. And for those that are non-self-closing, they actually have a pair. So you have an opening, which starts with left angle bracket, name of the tag, right angle bracket. Then, of course, there'll be space in between, and you would have left angle bracket. That's for the closing, /, name of the tag, and you will have right angle bracket. As you can see in this example, this is for paragraph, this for heading 1, this for title, section, heading 2, aside, and the rest. So these are actually tags. Okay. So we've talked about tags. So next, let's talk about okay, so just to be sure, I hope we are fine here. Are we good? All right, so I have a response, yeah? Yes, we are good. Okay, so let me show you. I talked about title on line 6, and I wanted to show you where that title actually shows up, right? So let's go to the browser where we have our live server. So just get there. Okay. So let me show you something. So as you can see, can you see on my browser here, you have web. In fact, hovering, just to hover on the tab, on the tab for the index.html, you can see web dev class 1. So just like you see all of these, this is YouTube, this is Zoom, and this is Google, right? So you can actually see us, web dev class 1. So this is the default. You can see this default internet icon here. So, but in our code, we can actually put in an icon in our own code so that we'll be able to see that icon show up here. I don't know if you have prepared an icon, but for me, I think I can just show you. Okay, so let me get to VS Code. So it's actually within the head tag. So remember I said every HTML document will have a head and will have a body. Head and body. So this title that showed up where we saw it was under head, and that is actually where it is supposed to be, right? So let's say we want to add a logo. Maybe we want to be seeing a logo here on our browser for the code that we are writing. So, but you should have had something prepared, like an image or something. But if you don't have, don't worry, you can just look at how I'm doing it. Probably you can later get an image. But just to show you, okay, so after this meta, just put your cursor there and enter here. So on this line 6, I'm actually working on line 6. So you have link. So remember I said that the link tag is actually used to bring in an either external style sheets, or you could call it external resources, anything external to your HTML file. You use the link, and most of the time that link is actually always used in the head tag. right, in the head tag. In the body tag, there is something else you use to attach a link, which I'm going to show you. But in the head tag, you actually use link. And remember, I told you that link is self-closing. So link is self-closing, right? So inside this link, you'd have something like rel. Rel actually has to do with relationship. So this rel is an attribute. I would tell you more what an attribute is, but I'm just trying to demonstrate how you could add a logo to your web page. So rel equals to so this image, right? So href. So there's something called href. I'll still talk more about it. Href is actually the link, is where you would attach the link to wherever your logo is, right? So let me go to, okay, so just in case you don't have, say you don't have an image for now, you can just go to Google and find an image, maybe any logo at all. You can say HTML logo, for example, just in case you don't have on your system at the moment. You can just go to browser. Okay, so this is the logo here. So what you do is you just right click on the logo. You see copy link address. Copy link address. So you can copy and come to where you have your href and you drop it there. In between the, after href, you have equal to sign, then you have opening quotation sign or quotation mark, then you have closing, right? So in between the quotation mark, you just drop it there, Control V. You must have copied from there. So you just drop it. Okay, so rel. Sorry, this rel is an icon, right? Icon. Yeah. So let's try to reload and see. Okay. So that does not work. Let me see. So I have some questions here. Let me attend to the questions before. Okay, said, is the space after the name of tag necessary? Yeah, so you shouldn't have empty tags, right? So what is supposed to be contained within the tag is actually supposed to be a text, right? So I just gave that space so that you can see the difference between the opening tag and the closing tag, right? So, but just know that tags are not supposed to be empty. You're not supposed to write empty tags on your HTML at any time. But I'm doing this for the purpose of the class, right? I'm just trying to show you closing tags, self-closing tags, and non-self-closing tags. So that's why these ones are empty. But I can comment them out so that they wouldn't be this visible. How do you switch between your VS Code and live server? Okay, so yeah, so for me, I'm using a Mac, and Mac has something like this. Like you can just switch, you can just move your mouse pad to the right, you can move it to the left. It will show you different applications that are open. So, but for Windows, I think Alt and Tab. Yeah, Alt and Tab. If you do Alt and Tab, it will actually show you the applications that are open. I just need someone to confirm that for me. Alt and Tab. It will actually show you the applications that are open. Then you will just, from there, you'll be able to switch. Or you can go to your tax bar, right? Your tax bar under, and you're able to move there. So, but I think Alt and Tab should be able to help you make that switch quite easily. All right. Okay. So, yeah, so this is not working. Okay, so just hold on for a moment. Let me take it out. Let me actually bring in an image. I'll try to find out why that's not working, but let me bring in an image to put in here as an icon. Okay, so let's say, okay, so what I want to do is, let me minimize this. Let me minimize this. Okay, so I'm going to bring an image side by side, right? So that we just, let me bring in an image side by side. Let me go to where I can find a logo. Okay. So let me see where I can find a logo. So you can actually do your own download. You can download something to your system, right? So let me just pull that in here. So you just drag and drop. So remember what I did? I just minimized my VS Code, right? So the Explorer here is still open. So you can actually drag and drop files, right? So I opened my file explorer, my normal file explorer, went to where the logo is. Then I copied, it's just to drag it, then you drop, right? So that works. Drag and drop. Then after that, you can expand. So this is the logo here. Okay. So let me rename this logo, this name, or we can leave it the way it is. Okay. So href, we want to connect this logo to this point. So let's see, // So let me just, within the href, immediately you type dots and // It will just list, can you see that it will just list the items, maybe files that are already in your current folder. That's what dots and / does. Dots and / means in my current folder, just like speaking it in English, in my current folder, show me the files that are inside the folder. In my current folder, show me the files that are inside. So if you do dots /, what happens? You are saying go 2 steps behind, right? So you are trying to tell the browser, you are trying to tell VS Code to say, go a step outside my current folder. So, but let that not confuse you, but if you can catch it, you catch it. So, but just to focus on what we are doing in the class, yes, we have dots and /. So it's going to show you the files that are currently under the folder you're working on. So you just click on it. So I think with that, let me see. Okay. So that actually worked. You can see our icon. Our icon is actually showing there. Okay, so let me check there. There has to be questions at this point. Okay, yeah, thanks. Alternate and tab, yeah? Alternate and tab. Okay, thanks. All right. Joshua, you're a bit distracted. Yeah, so I was talking about how to add a logo. You want to add a logo to your site. So you use a link tag. That's actually what you use. Within the head tag, don't forget, within, not outside the head tag. So it has to be between where the head tag opens and where the head tag closes. So that's actually where you have your link. Don't place it any other way, any other place. Link, rel, there has to be a relationship. So rel is like, what is it? The relationship is that it is an icon. So href is, okay, so where is the URL? Href is asking for the URL. And we say that, oh, the URL is inside our folder. and the name of the file is actually HTML logo.png. And that's how it's gonna actually work. All right. So let's move. Okay. So we've talked about what tags are, self-closing and non-self-closing. We've also described how you could add an icon to your web page that you're working. So next now that we want to talk about is comments. 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 So comments. So we want to talk about comments. Remember that everything I'm doing is within my body tag. Remember, it's within this body tag, right? Everything I'm doing now. So on line 36, we have comments. We want to talk about comments. So how do you comment in HTML? So from the beginning, you must have seen me commenting here and there. And just to note that your browser does not interpret this comment, right? Your browser does not, anywhere your browser sees this syntax. So how is the syntax written? I've been writing it from beginning. So it starts with left angle brackets. It continues with exclamation mark. Then you have dash, dash. Immediately you put dash, dash. VS Code will automatically help you complete it, auto-complete. But if you are using a phone, if you're using that Replit application, then you have to type it fully and say dash, dash, and right angle bracket. Right. So that's what actually happens. So immediately you have this. Don't forget, when you've written this, see where your cursor is blinking. Your cursor blinks after the second dash. So where you have your cursor blinking, then you can now type anything you want to comment. Right? So you can say this is a single line comment. Single line comment. This is a single line comment. So anything within this syntax, your browser will not execute it, because immediately it sees this, it will skip and go to the next line, because this is a comment. So you can actually write anything within the comment tag. So, but that's single line comment. So there's also multi-line comment. So let me do it this way. Multi-line. Let's say multi-line. Let me put the next one in a. Okay, sorry, I don't intend to do this. Multi-line comments. So let's say, for example, you've written a code that is in multi. So let's say you've written a code that is in 2 lines, right? It's not in one single line, and you don't want to comment it line by line. Maybe you have a lot. Let's say you have another line. Maybe you've been typing codes, right? Yeah, and you want to comment all of this, and you don't want to apply these single line comments to comment the first line, go to the next one, comment, go to the next one, comment, go to the next one. You just want to comment everything at once, right? So how do you do that? Multi-line comments. So let me see. We have this, let me see, and we have star. Let me see. I hope I'm getting that right. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so all right. Okay. So you just put your cursor at the beginning point, right? And the same thing, you just left angle brackets, exclamation mark, 2 dash, like I said. Then you come to the end where you want it to stop, right? And you just give it dash, dash, and right angle brackets. So this is a comment from lines 40 to 43. Just comment it out already. So instead of you doing it line by line to say this, you are going to do this, and maybe you come to the next one, you start again. That would just be too long and it should take a whole lot of your time, right? So this is a multi-line comment. This is how to do multi-line comments. So you can say this is a multi-line comment. So this is a multi-line comment, right? So I think I have a question here. How did you bring in that picture link? Okay, so I just went to my browser. I just went to my browser and typed logo. I was looking for HTML logo, right? So I just say HTML logo. It opened up. Then I just clicked on one of the images here. And it opened to this side and right click. So you will see copy link address. Copy link address. That's actually how you get the link to this image. All right, so let's go ahead. So this is a multi-line comment, all right? So next, let's look at elements. Elements. Elements, right? Elements. So what are elements? So if you have this, let's say you have this, and you say, this is a paragraph, right? So this is an element. Line 47 is an element. So what makes it an element? What makes it an element is that you have an opening tag, right? A content, opening tag plus content plus closing tag makes it an element. So element is made up of, so let me just write that, made up of opening tag. So you have an opening tag, a content, right? And a closing tag, right? So that's actually what makes it an element. But if you just have this, if it is just P and P, that's just an opening tag and a closing tag. If you just have this, it's just opening and closing tag. But if you now have content inside, this is an element, right? So from here to here is an element. So let me just give more examples of elements. So H1, let's do H1. H1 just stands for heading 1. You're going to see how this turns out. So this is heading 1. Go to the next line. You have H2. This is heading 2. Heading 2. So if you're using a phone, you can equally follow us. It's the same. We've done the actual coding, so you can still go ahead with us. So H3, this okay. This is heading 3. So take note of how I'm writing it and where the contents are, right? Don't make a mistake to say, HTML coding, everything is, you need to pay attention line by line, right? Line by line. Any small mistake can make your code not to run. Or maybe where you're supposed to put /, you now went and put /, for example. Maybe you did like this. You went and put /. It will throw an error. As you can see, this red is already telling you that there's an error. You understand? So you need to be careful, pay attention. Where you have /, make sure you don't put backslash so that you will be able to have so that your code will be able to run. So I have some questions here. So why are the comments in faded color? Well, that's how it is by default on VS Code. Maybe if you're using any other editor, I wouldn't know how the color will look like, but by default, that's how the comments show up. They are faded. So for me, I feel it's logical because the comment is not part of the code. It's more like maybe you just putting a comment by the side so that you can remember. Maybe the next time you open that code, you can remember that, oh, this is what I wrote, or this is what this stands for. Because actually, sometimes you may have written a code and you come back to that code to open it up. And you might even be confused at the very beginning to say, oh, okay, what is this? What is this? You just have to kind of remind yourself. That's really what's coding. That's really what happens. So when you put in comments, the comments are not part of executable code. So for me, I think it's logical for it to be gray, to be in this color, so that even you would understand, or you would know that this is something different from the real code that I'm writing, right? He said, I noticed it's not showing on the live server page. Yeah, the comment won't show on the live server page. You know, I had earlier said that it will not show. The comment will not show. So someone is asking, how do I get to this stage in replits.com? Okay. So I don't know where you are, but in your replit, of course, you have a body tag. You have the bare document structure for HTML, right? And you have head, you have body. So it is within the body tag that we are currently typing. So everything you are typing here has to be within the body tag, right? So we may not be able to go backward too much because of time. And also since the class is being recorded, so we just go ahead from here. So everything you're writing here, remember, is under the body tag, right? So if you're using, like I said, if you're using Replit, Replit may not have auto completion. I'm not sure it does, but if it does have auto completion, then that makes a lot of sense. But if it does not have, then you can type it by yourself. Like it means you have to type, let's say you type H4, then you close it. So let me delete this. Sorry. I'm just trying to illustrate how someone using replay.com would do if it does not have auto completion. So after typing the first opening tag, you can say this is heading 4, right? This is heading 4. Then at the end, you are the one that will close it by yourself by typing left angle brackets /. Mine has already completed it for me. Okay. So that's why VS Code it makes your life easy, right? So H4, then you close it with a right angle bracket. That's actually, if you're using replit.com and it doesn't have auto completion, it means you have to be typing all of these things one by one. Okay. So, yeah. Isaac, you seem to be following us from afar. And okay. So how did you launch the live server page? So just quickly, right-click on your index.html, right-click there, and you will see, let me see, open with live server is an option. Everybody has it. On your index.html, you right-click, and there's a place called open with live server, right? Alternatively, you come to here, you come to this index.html under File Explorer, and still right-click. You see open with live server. So those are the two options to open with live server. All right, so let's move. Okay, so I just want to complete these headings just to also show you what heading 5. This is heading 5, right? Then heading 6. This is heading 6. Okay, so let's go to our live server and see what happens there. Right. So you can see what each of those tags does. This heading 1, remember H1, heading 1. This is heading 2, H2. This is heading 3, H3. This is heading 4, H4. You see how the font continues to decrease. So it depends if you are, coding, right? And maybe you need something to be very bold. You can use heading 1 if you like. Use heading 2. It depends on what you want or what you want to achieve. So, but I think it's self-explanatory that automatically it is bold and the font size is big. Do you see the one that we said paragraph P? So the paragraph just automatically does not come bold. It just comes normal as normal text. And this is the normal font size. I think this should be around, this should be around 14 pixels. I guess I will still find out. This should be around 14 pixels. Yeah. So, but this is of course more than 14 pixels. And it's equally bold. This is just by default, right? So we've not added any styling to it, but this is what you can see. All right. Then here you can see we added, we said, hello world, this is my first code. If you can see this line here, we did HR, if you can remember. So let me just show you. While I was demonstrating HR, you can see HR. So HR is for horizontal line. So that's actually what is responsible for this. If you are seeing this line on your browser, is that HR that brought this line out, right? Then also, if you are seeing this is an input box. What is responsible for this is here, input on line 17. Input, remember I said input is self-closing. So immediately you just type input, it gives you this box, right? And users are able to put in their input, whatever. We'll still dive deep into that. But I was just trying to demonstrate self-closing tags, right? Okay. So I think we'll move. So these are elements. These are elements, remember, made up of opening tag, content, and a closing tag. All right. So I think I have some questions here. Okay, kindly explain the line of code that linked the HTML logo. So this one says, what about the image you copied? The line of code that linked the HTML logo. Okay. So this is line 6. This is where the logo was linked. So first, like I said, it uses a link tag. So link tag is actually what you use to communicate with an external resource, to bring in an external resource into your code. You actually use the link tag. But remember that the link tag is used within the head. It has to be used within the head. So inside the body tag, if you want to bring in a link, there's a way it is being done, which I'm going to show you. You don't use the link within the body. So link is used in the head. So rel is an attribute, and rel stands for relationship, right? To say, what's the relationship? Icon. So there are other rels. So there's style sheets, right? There's style sheets. When we are bringing in our, when we get to our CSS, you will see that there are other types of other values for rel. So there's style sheets, but in this case, is icon, right? Icon. So href is still an attribute. So remember, when you see these purple colors, right, they're actually attributes. That's from my own code. I don't know what colors they are in yours, but yeah, just to let you know. So href equals to quotation mark. So within this quotation mark is where you put the link to where the resource or the logo is found. If it is style sheets, you have to put the link to where the VS Code or the VS Code can be able to, or the browser can find that CSS file. But in this case, it is a logo. And remember, I had brought in my logo is now in my project, right? I just did drag and drop. I may not be able to repeat that process, but I minimized my VS Code. Then I just dragged the image and dropped it here. So it will just enter when you drag and drop. Okay, so I did this. Let me delete it again. So I said dots, dots, forward slash. So when you do dot and forward slash, it just means list out. It's just like you saying list out all the files, including folders. If I had a folder under class one, it will equally show it here. But as you can see on my class one, I have just HTML logo.png, then I have index.html. So that's why when I say dot forward slash, so dot forward slash means in this current directory. Dot means in this current directory. Dot and forward slash is like list. This is just me explaining. I would have just said dot forward slash, this is how it is written. But because I know what it is and I know what it does, so I'm explaining it for you. That dot means in this current directory or in this current folder, then the forward slash is like lists all the files or folders, if they are folders, in this current folder or in this current directory, right? Then from there, so it just lists, it shows you that, oh, there's HTML logo. So you just click on it, right? When you click, it automatically enters. And, and when you get to your live server, your browser, right, you're going to see the logo will show up there. All right, so let's move. Okay, so I think the next question was the image you copied. Yeah, so I copied it. It didn't work. So I decided to do it manually, but I could always revisit that later. Okay, so let's move. Next, we'll talk about attributes. That's the next thing, attributes, right? Attributes. So what are attributes? Attributes are found within the opening tags. Okay, so let me say. Attributes are, okay, let me use small letter. Attributes are found, or attributes contain properties. So you can say maybe attributes contain properties of elements. Elements, right? And are found, they are found in the opening tag. Opening tag, yeah, they are found in the opening tag. Or you can say they are found in opening tags, right? That's where you find them. Or those are the places, or that's where attribute is written. So, for example, remember you need to write an element first. So let's say P, or let's use A. Let's use A. So let's use A. So what does A stand for? Anchor, right? This A stands, A is an anchor tag. That's how it is called, anchor, right? These ones are headings. So you can do your own comments and put them by the side. These are headings. This one is a paragraph. Okay, so let me just put a comment and say, okay, so I can say this is anchor. Let me put it within. So I can say this is an anchor anchor element. I'm calling it anchor element because I'm referring to everything from this opening tag to the end here, right? So, but to say it is a tag, you can call it anchor tag. Anchor tag is just when it is without a content. Don't forget, when it's just without a content, like this. This is an anchor tag. But when you now have a content within, it now becomes an anchor element. Don't forget that. So let's use anchor to demonstrate this. To have a chart here. Okay. So let's use anchor to demonstrate. So remember I said attributes are written in the opening tag. So this is an opening tag A. So after this A, so maybe I can say I found in the opening tags after the name of the tag so that someone won't go and write it before the tag name. After the name of the tag, right? They are written. So you can say they are written instead of found. They are written in opening tags. That's where they are written after the name of the tag. So there's a left angle bracket, there's the name of the tag. Then the next thing that follows is an attribute. So let's give an attribute here, and let's say href. So anchor tags have this attribute called href. So what does href do? Href just specifies the URL for wherever the resource is located. URL. So inside this href, you can even say something like HTTPS, but you have to put the full you have to, whatever you put in this href has to start with HTTPS. If not, it's not going to work. So let's say www.google.com, for example, google.com, right? HTTPS, it comes with, after HTTPS, you have the colon, then you have double forward slash, of course, normal URLs, double forward slash, then you have www.google.com, right? So let's see what this brings up. Okay. So do you see it automatically comes out and says this is an anchor element, but it is blue and it's underlined. And when you put your cursor on it, it shows that finger to tell you that, oh, this is a link. You understand? That's what anchor does. And if you click on it, I've clicked on mine, it goes to google.com because that's what we set in our code, right? We said href should be equal to https colon double forward slash www.google.com. So anybody that clicks on it, it automatically take you to this place. It will take you to google.com, right? So this is anchor. This is how to insert a link. All right. So href is this. So there's another attribute that A has, right? So we have targets. Targets. So targets, if we say blank, it's going to open it in another window. Let me just show you. So let's say you are building a site and you included a link to somewhere, and you want that when the user clicks on that link, it will open a new tab. You don't want it you don't want the tab that you're currently working on or that the user is currently on to display that URL. You want it to move to another tab so that your website is still visible. sorry, your website is still visible on its current tab. So let me just show you what I mean. So sometimes if you have issues on your live server, you can just reload. Maybe something that you've written is not coming out, you can just reload. So, but automatically it reloads by default. But just in case, sometimes you may just need to reload it. So just watch it now. So if we click here, so do you see that by clicking here, it opened another tab with google.com. But my tab is still open. Remember, my tab is still open. But in the other one, when we did not have target blank, it will open the google.com on your website. So the user would have to, at the end, click backspace to take the user back to your website where the user was browsing, right? So that's really how this thing works. Yeah, so at any point you don't put that target blank, just know that whatever link you've imputed there, when the user clicks on it, it will modify your web page. Like it will move to the next, it will get to that URL on your page, and your own will now go to the back, right? Your own would no longer be seen. It will not open it on a new tab. But when you put target blank, this target blank, it tells it, oh, I need you to open www.google.com on a separate tab. Okay. So that's what that actually does. Attributes. This is just attributes. There are others like let's also demonstrate with let's demonstrate with image img. So remember I said image is self-closing. Don't forget, self-closing means it doesn't have a pair. If it is non-self-closing, it will definitely have a pair, right? So image. So image also has, in fact, you can actually use attributes on all the tags, but it depends on what tag, or it depends on, or different tags are able to accommodate different attributes. So I just showed you that for anchor element or anchor tag, it takes in href, it takes in target, right? It takes in more, maybe class, right? It takes in ID, a whole lot, right? So it depends on what you are doing and what you want to achieve, right? It's just for you to understand what each attribute does. So like now I said, this href, it helps you to specify the URL where you want the, like when the user clicks on this is an anchor element, where the URL that it should take the user to. That's actually what is contained in href. Target, it's actually telling the browser, open this link on a separate tab. That's what target does. When you say class is actually from the styling. We're actually going to go into more when we go into CSS or when we go into different types of styling, we'll talk more about class. But just know for now that class is an attribute, right? And it's actually used for styling. Then we have ID. ID is equally an attribute and is used for styling also. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to demonstrate with image, but before then, let me show you something. So let's do that's the anchor again, ahref equals to. So say, for example, you are not certain, or maybe you've not decided on where you want to link that item to. Maybe you've not decided on a URL. You can just put hash. Hash means it's going nowhere, right? Then maybe later when you now get, instead of leaving it blank, you can just say href equals to hash. Then let's say this is a void This is a void URL. So it doesn't go anywhere. Immediately you say hash. Maybe you're not setting on the URL, or you've not yet brought it to your code, or maybe you're going to bring it later. You know, you can just, for the start, you can just say ahref equals to hash. So let's see. This is a void URL. So when you click, you see, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't take you to anywhere. It just stops there. So that's just to mention, right? Just to mention that. Okay, so image. So I also want to show you some of the attributes that image has. Okay, so image has src. So for image, you don't have href. What you have is src, source. So the source is like, where is the image coming from? So it also specifies the URL, right? It takes in the URL for the image that you want to put in here. So I think at this point, I can go to at this point, I can go to my browser, just find any image. Okay, so let's just still do that HTML logo, right? Let's bring in copy image address. Copy image address under this src. I think we can paste it here. It's quite long. It's quite long, but I think it should be able to show. Okay. So it actually showed up. Right? So what I did, okay, let me repeat. Let me Control Z. So let me just recap. So on line 62, I'm saying here that this is an image tag. And remember that image tags are self-closing. So you can later go ahead to check more tags, right? To check more tags that are self-closing and those that are non-self-closing. So why I just mentioned this few is just to let you know that, these are some of the commonly used tags anyway, that some of these tags or some tags are self-closing while some are non-self-closing. HTML has a lot. Okay, so let me just show you. w3school.com. w3schools. w3schools.com. So this is one of the places you go to for a lot of resources for HTML. In fact, it's massive, a whole lot, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, SQL, Python, Java, PHP, a whole lot is here, right? So this website is robust. So if you check out tags, let me see. Or if I type, let me just type HTML tag here, HTML tag. Okay, so it brings me here. So can you see, let me just scroll through so that you can just see the tags. HTML has a lot of tags, as you can see. Okay. So you can see this defines a comment, doc type, a hyperlink, a whole lot. Some are self-closing, some are not. But this is a complete reference. And the funny thing is that you don't need to know all this. Honestly, you really don't need to know all this. Because, this might make you scared to say, this is a whole lot. But you don't need to know everything. That's the truth. As you keep coding and learning, right, and working on project, you just continue to expose yourself to more of these tasks, right? As long as it applies, not even everything will apply to what you are working on at every point in time. So but just to let you know that this is a complete reference of all the tags in HTML, both those that are self-closing and those that are non-self-closing. So you can see that there's a lot here. There's a lot, right? So just to mention that, right? Okay, so okay, it's 12 p.m. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so I think yeah, thanks for the reminder. I think we just stop here because we said 2 hours. So we'll stop here. However, let me just recap before we close. Let me just recap for the image, just image in particular, how I did it. So SRC equals to SRC defines the URL. Like I said, it defines the URL. So if you have the URL externally, you can copy it and paste it for this for the image. If you don't have, if the URL is not external, you can bring in an image here. So like this logo, we can still use the logo here, right? So if we do /HTML logo, let's check out. So you can see the logo comes out here. So it depends on if you have the URL as an external image, you drop it there to work. While if you have it on your project, you link it and it will equally work. So I think with this, we've come to the end. We just stop here. It's already past 12. Okay, so if the image imported external is deleted from primary source, then of
Thank you very
course,
much, sir.
yeah, thanks. So on your project or on your website, that image will equally go. So that's why it's important to if you can download the image and make sure it is in your project, so that with that you are sure that at every point in time your image will always show. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate your time in the class. So we'll continue on Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sorry, I was a bit carried away, so I shot beyond the time. But I would always appreciate reminders, people to remind me that it's already time, so that yeah. Okay, thanks everyone. I appreciate. Bye, and do have a good rest of the day.